Forward pause. Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming. Wow, we have a good crowd tonight. You're not going to know that if you're just looking on the recording or on Zoom, because you're seeing not even half the room. There's got to be at least 25 here, I would think, right? Okay.
That way.
So, all right. Well, so thank you, everybody, for coming. Again, please make sure your phone is muted, and the sign-in sheet has been going around. So first, we do have some new faces, which I always appreciate, and I always appreciate the returnees. That's always great. So I'm Ed Katz. I do marketing with Katnip Marketing, my firm, but I also do theater and film reviews, which I've been doing for many years on the radio and at lead discussions here, obviously for several years, and at a couple other clubs in the area. And announcement, I'm going to be teaching a class, classic films of the 60s and 70s, for the 4 Wednesdays in March, starting next week. And that's at Florida Atlantic University's Lifelong Learning Center. Excited about that.
At what time and what date?
It's every Wednesday, starting on the 4th, 2:30 to 4 o'clock.
In Boca?
No, the Jupiter campus, yep. So you can register online. I'm told we've got about 30 registered for that so far, so that's pretty good. So I'm excited.
Are you watching the movies beforehand or?
Yeah, same thing, but I'm showing clips there. I'll be showing clips. So we've got Chinatown, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, because it's 60s and 70s, starting with those, and Dr. Strangelove, and then Fellini's 8.5. Those are the
Good selection.
All right, so and please follow me, Katz Reviews on Facebook if you're not already, and also on Twitter. So, all right, let's start. We're doing One Battle After Another, which has 13 Academy Award nominations. Second most to Sinners. The vampire movie actually got 16 nominations. It was really good, but 16 nominations for a vampire movie, kind of amazing. All right, so okay. Who thought the movie was well done? Show of hands.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah, I would say well done.
maybe half. Who did not think it was well done? Okay, about 6 or so. And who was like kind of so-so in the middle? Okay, another 4 or 5. Okay. All right, so you guys didn't love it as much as the critics or me, or most of the audiences from according to Rotten Tomatoes.
You said well done.
I did.
Yeah.
All right, okay, sorry.
That's different.
All right, so who liked it? Okay, a little more than half. Okay, and so on it?
Yeah.
A few. Okay, and then didn't like it? Wow, all right, almost as many as who did like it. Pretty close. Didn't like it, okay. Wow. All right, we'll have a lot to discuss then. All right. So critics on Rotten Tomatoes, 94% liked it. On the audiences on Rotten Tomatoes, 88% liked it. So you guys are, outliers. And Metacritic gave it an 86 out of 100, and IMDb, which, as you know, a 7 or better is considered quite good, it got a 7.7. So the cinema score, it got an A, which is remarkable for, they say it's remarkable for a Wes Anderson film. Even Boogie Nights, which I thought was a terrific movie, only got a C. His production budget on this movie was $130 to $175 million.
Sorry, I don't, Wes Anderson, wasn't it a Paul Thomas?
Paul Thompson.
Yes,
Yes.
right, Paul Thomas Anderson.
Yes.
Thank you for clarifying, because right, not to be confused with Wes Anderson,
Right.
very different, but yes, good clarification. Thank you. Paul Thomas Anderson. Okay. So the box office was around 209 million, his highest grossing film. But when you add the cost of marketing the movie, which I think they spent about 75 million, it didn't make money at this point. I mean, always, there could be other, it also has the streaming rights, obviously, are worth something. So there's other things, but not exactly a profitable movie. So 13 Oscar nominations, the second most, 14 BAFTA nominations, and it did win Best Picture, and Sean Penn won also. And 4 Golden Globe wins, including Best Musical Comedy and Best Director. 3 Critics' Choice wins, including Best Picture. and it set a record with 7 Screen Actors Guild movies.
Music or comedy?
Music or comedy.
Oh.
Music or comedy category.
Which one was that?
Neither. It was considered a comedy.
Yeah.
Um, There are funny moments. I don't think I'd call it a comedy, but can you see, I mean, do people think there were some funny moments? Yes? All right.
Whenever Sean Penn was on the screen, it was.
All right. Well, how about Leonardo DiCaprio in that bathrobe and he's doing all the dodging moves? I thought it was funny.
It's
like black comedy, isn't that what?
Yes, exactly. All right. So let's go back to those of you, let's start with someone who did like it. Anyone want to say why? Yes.
I thought it was a good story. It engaged me. I saw it twice because I saw it about 4 weeks ago and I said, I can't remember a damn thing when I saw it.
So you saw it twice.
And one of the things that, well, of course, the acting I thought was superb. But the other thing that really struck me was the way the music was used to enhance the emotion of the film. It was powerful.
Yeah, the music was very powerful. We'll talk about that. This is his 6th collaboration with Johnny Greenwood, who did the music, the score. Does anyone know the other thing Johnny Greenwood is famous for besides doing movies? He's in Radiohead, the band. Very big band, very big band. Okay, so Paul Thomas Anderson, well, all right, so, yes, go ahead. Yes, Debbie,
Okay,
belt it out.
I saw humor in the sense that I thought that there was a lot of politics. I think.
A lot of
Politics.
absolutely, yes.
I saw it sort of like as a swoop on, let's say, QAnon with the whole deep state.
Right, the deep state, yep.
Deep state, they were supposed to, the group was supposed to be what, people say is
The 75 group, I forget what, French 75? Yeah,
75.
right. Yep.
But anyway, so, like the one extreme and the other, and I just thought it was interesting how that played into it. But the part that I liked the best was the emotional connections between, different characters.
The emotional connection between, you didn't like the chase scene the best? That was an amazing chase scene.
That was great.
Okay, all right. Okay. Anyone else want to weigh in on the positives? Yes, sir.
For me, it smacked of Dr. Strangelove.
Okay.
It really
Dr.
was just,
Strangelove,
I
yep.
kept saying, my God.
With
this
the affectations
stuff,
and
it
things?
was amazing.
Yep,
And
okay.
I didn't care for the movie, but
Okay.
that part and the music I thought was terrific.
Okay.
So it wasn't a complete bust, but it
Okay.
really was Dr. Strangelove.
Okay. David.
I thought the era, when, in the 60s, when this stuff was going on, the French Liberation crew, the French 75, were doing this stuff. And I thought it was all kind of like a fantasy, like more like it wasn't real, but it was real because, go back to Patty Hearst or any of the weathermen or anything that was going on at the time. And to switch us to the new world order was phenomenal.
Yeah, it didn't remind you a little of the Black Panthers?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, same
Right.
thing.
Okay.
Same thing. I loved that period,
Right.
but it just didn't feel real in that way. It just felt, it was real, but it didn't feel real as a movie. And I
Okay.
thought it was a caricature, like a caricature. I liked it. I liked seeing it as such. And I thought that, like, the woman, she was so spectacular. When seeing her when she was pregnant and
Right.
yeah, but it was like, was she real? Yeah, it was real.
Okay. All right, any other on the positive side or? Yes,
Relationships.
the relationships.
Between DiCaprio and his daughter and
Yes.
just the whole looking out for each other, someone getting her away from Sean Penn and
Right.
it was very meaningful.
Okay. And Benicio del Toro constantly rescuing Leonardo, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Yes, Ann.
Standout was Sean Penn.
Spectacular.
Yeah. Yes. He's famous for becoming the character even when they're not shooting. He's like in the role and don't bother him because he's like fixated.
I'm in the zone.
Yeah, exactly. He's in the
Can I comment on that?
Yes,
I would
please go
like to
ahead.
comment on that just quickly saying, I think that is a caricature. I think that is two-dimensional. It's easy to play somebody that's totally unreal. There was no reality to that character. He's not a real person. If you met him on the street, it didn't exist. It's a caricature. So that being, I thought it was kind of, in that sense, it became a cartoon. And it's like, okay, every one of those characters to me were cartoonish because they're two-dimensional. There's no fullness
Well,
to
if this
that.
was a satire.
Yeah.
If it was a satire,
Yep.
which apparently it is, because
Yes.
they won a comedy award.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I must have missed that.
No, I would agree with David. And I understand what you're saying, but respectfully, I disagree.
Okay.
I think he was brilliant. The walk,
Oh,
that iconic walk. I was in the movie theater when I first saw it. I saw it again here, on this home screen. But I was cracking up and marveling at that walk. Yeah, the hair. Yep.
Well, after the accident,
Yes.
it was like, how's this guy alive?
Yeah, he's like a zombie walking dead. Too much determination to die at that point. Yes, yes.
Love the movie at all. I thought it was just okay. But
Okay,
I have to say that the scene with him and the password was so real.
right?
So real. We've all been there and we don't want to.
He couldn't remember the password.
Oh, that's.
Yep.
And that's what we all go through. I know my husband goes through it 3 times a night.
But not only that, with so much at stake, and then with the guy on the other end of the phone.
Right.
I mean, my space is invaded. I mean, come on, it was funny, All right,
When he says, well, where are you? He describes his space as between the territories of 2 tribes.
yes,
It's really.
yes, it was, it did skewer both sides to an extent. The left wings and the right wings.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Okay. So Paul Thomas Anderson, little background on him, the director and primary writer, I believe. His father was a well-known TV announcer, the voice of ABC, the announcer on The Love Boat and America's Funniest Home Videos. He also said to be the first man on his block to own a VCR. He made his first film at age 8. As a teenager, he was shooting on 16 millimeter. Briefly attended NYU Film School. He submitted David Mamet's work as his own and got a C and dropped out and never looked back. How about that? He's the only director to have won Best Director at all 3 of the world's most prestigious film festivals. Cannes with Punch Drunk Love, Venice with The Master, and Berlin with Inherent Vice. Quentin Tarantino, often considered his chief rival for the title of greatest living American director. I don't know if I'd put Paul Thomas Anderson quite that high, but has called him a filmmaking artist, and the 2 are good friends. Some of his films, Boogie Nights, which if you haven't seen it, is a terrific film. That is a comedy, a little more obvious as a comedy. But there's one scene, now the continuous take where almost the whole movie is one take is becoming more commonplace. There's a scene in Boogie Nights, which was made 1997, so pretty close to 30 years ago. It's 16 minutes long, one continuous take right by the pool. And if you haven't seen it, I encourage you to go and watch it. Burt Reynolds is in it. Mark kind of made Mark Wahlberg a star of that movie. Julianne Moore is in it. But that one scene with and now I'm trying to remember who is the guy who was the master, died 4 years ago. Philip Seymour Hoffman. Yes, thank you. Philip Seymour Hoffman was a young gay guy who had a crush on Mark Wahlberg in this movie in Boogie Nights. And the scene by the pool is brilliant filmmaking. I saw that movie, that scene, my jaw dropped. I was like, this guy is a director to watch because I know he's going to be doing good things just from that one scene.
Is Boogie Nights, available on Netflix?
You have to check. I'm not sure, but yeah, because it's been out for a long time.
Right.
But it's a fascinating movie. It is funny. It's also serious and poignant.
It's about porn.
Yeah, it's about the porn industry in the 70s.
Yeah.
Yeah. Magnolia he made a couple years later. He said at the time, Magnolia is, for better or worse, the best movie I'll ever make. Okay, that was 1999. He made Punch Drunk Love with Adam Sandler. There Will Be Blood with Daniel Day-Lewis.
That was
The Master with Philip Seymour Hoffman. Inherent Vice. That was the first time he adapted a Pynchon novel. This was the second. Had Joaquin Phoenix. Phantom Thread with Daniel Day-Lewis, his final film. Licorice Pizza, which I didn't love, was an Oscar nominee for Best Picture, and this one, which came 4 years later. So his movies are characterized by long, flowing single takes, constantly moving cameras, deep psychological character studies, dysfunctional families, definitely, right? And the music used as a storytelling instrument, not just background. Now, his big thing that he did with this movie was the filming style. He used something called 35mm VistaVision, which is a widescreen format basically used in the 50s and kind of stopped through after the 60s. So it had a look like it was shot way back. And they used over 1 million feet of film making this movie. And that was very expensive because go and try to find that kind of film these days. So very expensive.
When you say 1 million of film, that's for the movie itself, or he used it to get to the movie?
No, that's what they shot. I mean, they edited it down, but that's how much they shot.
That was my question. So from the million, what did it get edited?
Oh, I don't know how many.
You have to guess, a
Yeah,
third?
No, probably a 10th.
Oh.
Yeah, most likely. So VistaVision runs the film horizontally through the camera rather than vertically. This means each frame is twice the size of a normal 35mm frame, which is, he did shoot it particularly to be in IMAX. I didn't see it in, maybe I did see it in IMAX. It was a huge screen, so I might have seen the IMAX version. But with the chase scenes, it blew me away. I mean, amazing. So each frame is astonishingly rich and a detailed image and has extraordinary resolution. His director of photography, Michael Bauman, said more than 1.5 million feet of film, more than the format has seen run through cameras in decades. They ran the cameras handheld on Steadicam strapped to cars. The stated goal was to evoke the, quote, stylistic roughness of 70s cinema, specifically The French Connection and The Last Detail. So the director of photography said it was VistaVision pushed to its limits. What some critics said about the visual style, Film Threat's Alex Savelio, I think I pronounced it right, demands to be seen on the largest screen possible to fully absorb the 35mm VistaVision experience with every cell of your body. Everything about it is grand. This reviewer is not attributed with by name. Car chases are seemingly shot from the bumper point of view, zooming up and down enormously steep, empty highways. Not since Mad Max has anyone utilized the cinematic power of a single strip of road, which I thought is a good analogy. If you've ever seen Mad Max, 90% of the movie is a chase scene across dirt roads in the middle of the desert, but pretty fascinating anyway. In World of Real, Jordan Rumi wrote, bathed in golden hour natural light and kinetic handheld movement, Anderson's work behind the camera has never been more confident, even as he wades into absolute lunacy. And a negative reviewer on IMDb posted, far less interestingly photographed than something like Phantom Thread. If you're expecting a masterpiece, lower your expectations. Okay. Now the score, Johnny Greenwood's score. He's best known as the lead guitarist of Radiohead. He's been Paul Thomas Anderson's composer since 2007 with There Will Be Blood. So this is the 6th movie they've worked on together. He said, I'm incredibly lucky that Paul indulges me and gives me so much time to experiment and compose. The score was recorded with the London Contemporary Orchestra. Okay. You know, it's interesting that he used the whole orchestra because the parts that stick in my mind the most are the piano. The twinkling of the high end of the keyboard. You remember that on a lot of the scenes to build the suspense? I thought it was pretty fascinating. One critic said, Johnny Greenwood's fervent, high-pitched piano keys do as much to provoke a pounding heart as the theme from Jaws. Okay, another, Johnny Greenwood's score is delightfully chaotic in all the best ways, an intensely repetitive piano riff that is still stuck in my head. The film's climax features Greenwood's inspired reworking of The Wizard of Oz's Wicked Witch theme. That I didn't know, but that was pretty interesting. Okay. Leonardo DiCaprio. So, all right, I have to tell you, the first time I saw this movie in the theater, when I was watching DiCaprio's performance, my thought was, this part was written for Jack Nicholson when he was in his prime. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Okay. The second time I saw it, just this past week, I said, now I appreciate what DiCaprio did. I think he did a good job. I didn't really appreciate it so much the first time. When I saw it the second time, I appreciated it more, and I give him more credit now. But he started acting as a child in TV commercials. Then he was in Growing Pains in the early 90s. Robert De Niro handpicked him to co-star with him in This Boy's Life. At 19, he earned his first Oscar playing the mentally disabled Barney in What's Eating Gilbert Grape. And then, of course, Titanic in 97 made him a huge world star. His defining collaboration, Martin Scorsese, 6 films together. Gangs of New York, The Aviator, where he played
Howard Hughes.
Howard Hughes. I couldn't think of the first name right. Thank you, Howard Hughes. The Departed, a terrific film. Shutter Island, The Wolf of Wall Street, of course. Killers of the Flower Moon. Quentin Tarantino. He collaborated with him in Django Unchained and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, which, if you haven't seen that, terrific Tarantino movie. Not very gory. There's one scene, but other than that, it's just a terrific movie. And then, of course, Paul Thomas Anderson. And DiCaprio said, I've been wanting to work with Paul for over 20 years. So that's pretty cool. He's been nominated 6 times before winning for The Revenant. I'm not sure why that's the one he won for. If you saw the movie, it's good, but okay. Kind of like if Robert Redford won for Jeremiah Johnson. I don't know. That's the one they gave it to him for. So in this film, he plays a stoned, paranoid man, where burnout, revolutionary, living off the grid, arguably his least glamorous role. Critics loved it. Owen Gleiberman in Variety. Anderson knows that the quality that liberates DiCaprio is comedy. In The Atlantic, David Sims wrote, DiCaprio plays Bob as a sweetheart rather than a buffoon. Maybe both. A tired, strung-out anti-hero made weary not by his years-long efforts to fight back, but by the relentlessness of the world. And one reviewer said, he hasn't been this funny or physically dynamic since The Wolf of Wall Street. He's an absolute delight in a bathrobe. Okay. Anyone have any thoughts on DiCaprio and his performance?
It was a different role for him, right?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, kind of a departure from his usual, more classic type heroes. Yeah.
But you touched on it when you talked about the buffoonish style.
Mm-hmm.
That's where, for me, it pushed me over to the buffoonish rather than, because I didn't believe him for a second that he'd had any love for the daughter that he didn't know about.
Really?
Yeah, I thought there was, but so for me it was easy.
Who didn't have any love for the daughter?
He didn't believe that DiCaprio's character did have love for that daughter.
For me, once he became a buffoon.
Well, he thought it was his daughter too.
Yeah.
Well,
I
yeah.
loved her dearly.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty convincing.
He raised
He
He
did, right?
Yes.
Told
was
him.
committed to her. He just
We have no idea what he did for work because they never showed that. That's one issue I have with it, but still.
Only because of the buffoon, as you brought it up, is once it went through to that side of it, it becomes easy then to say all of this is buffoonish. And that was what got me. So that's why, anyway.
All right.
Yeah, but this-
I mean, I think it was true to keeping with his character because he was such a burnout from all the drugs and alcohol.
Big Lebowski, there he is.
Okay, the dude. Yeah.
Yeah, the
Okay.
dude.
All right. Sean Penn as Colonel Lockjaw. So Sean Penn, the son of a TV director, Leo Penn, and an actress named Eileen Ryan. He chose acting over college, joined the LA Repertory Theater as a teenager. Obviously, his first big break, which we discussed a couple months ago, Fast Times at Ridgemont High. A comedic role that suggested none of the volcanic dramatic intensity to come. His subsequent trajectory, Bad Boys, At Close Range, Casualties of War, Carlito's Way, Dead Man Walking, Sweet and Low Down, I Am Sam. Now, Two-time Academy Award winner for Best Actor, Mystic River, directed by Clint Eastwood. And Milk. He was amazing in Milk, playing Harvey Milk, the former mayor of San Francisco.
He won both of them.
He won for those, yes. 6 total Oscar nominations. He's also a director. He directed The Indian Runner and The Crossing Guard with Jack Nicholson, The Pledge, also with Jack Nicholson, and Into the Wild in 2007, which received 2 Oscar nominations. He is famously combative, deeply political, and not always beloved by Hollywood. He's been married to Madonna and Robin Wright. He gave an Oscar to Ukrainian President Zelensky as a symbolic gesture of support during the war. This is his second collaboration with Anderson, having had a small role in Licorice Pizza. And I have to tell you, I'm reading that sentence and going, I don't remember him in Licorice Pizza. It must have been a small role. Okay, anyone remember him in that? All right. Okay, and on Roger Ebert's website, Brian Tallarico writes, Penn flexes his muscles, grits his teeth, and growls his lines, but somehow threads the needle between truth and caricature. It's his best work in years. David Sims in The Atlantic, Penn, giving a brilliant performance of cold villainy that could win him a 3rd Oscar, is unafraid of lancing the inherent goofiness of a fascist. And someone online wrote, Sean Penn's walk in this movie, it's a cross between John Wayne and Popeye, and it's absolutely mesmerizing. Watching it, I was thinking it's like he's got a pole up his butt. He's so tightly wound up that that's the only way he can walk. But if you notice, Paul Thomas Anderson gives him plenty of room to walk. He has a lot of long distance shots where you just see him walking across an entire room, making a square turn and walking again. There's several shots of that to really make the point and let him, do his thing. Benicio del Toro, I thought was terrific as kind of a counter character because he was so calm.
Right.
No matter what's going on, he's calm, knows what to do, takes it in stride. He was terrific.
Ocean waves, he says, ocean waves.
Ocean Wave, right. Well, Sensei, right? He was the karate master. He lost his mother at age 9. His father was a lawyer and moved the family to Pennsylvania. He enrolled at UC San Diego, intending to study business. Took 1 acting class and his life changed from there. He studied at Circle in the Square Theater School and the Stellar Adler Academy in LA. At 21, he became the youngest actor ever to play a Bond villain. He was in License to Kill in 1989 as Dario. Spent years being typecast as thugs and mumbling villains with a mysterious on-screen charisma that fascinated directors. His breakthrough was The Usual Suspects. You remember that movie?
Right.
Kevin Spacey, Gabriel Byrne. All right, terrific film. He was the nearly unintelligible, oddly magnetic Fenster. Then he was in Basquiat, Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas, where he gained 40 pounds and burned himself with cigarettes for the role. Also Snatch, and then Oscar winner for Traffic, directed by Steven Soderbergh. He was a Mexican border cop struggling to remain honest. He won the Oscar, Golden Globe, SAG, and BAFTA in a historic sweep. He's only the 4th Oscar winner whose winning role was performed primarily in a foreign language. Oscar nominated a second time, 21 Grams in 2003. Interestingly, also with Sean Penn and Naomi Watts. Okay, he was in Sin City, Guardians of the Galaxy, Star Wars, The Last Jedi, Sicario, and Wes Anderson's The French Dispatch. This is his 3rd nomination, making him and Penn and DiCaprio a formidable trio of nominees from a single film. Gold Derby said, in a film full of frenetic action and wily character motives, Del Toro is a calming presence as Sergio San Carlos, a karate teacher and Latino community leader who helps DiCaprio's desperate ex-revolutionary evade a manhunt, all while calmly cracking a few much-needed beers. And did you notice the beers they were always drinking? Modelo, right. Not an American brand. I thought that was also making a point. Del Toro at the press conference, I have to thank Paul for this part, but also for being in a movie with 2 of my oldest heroes in Hollywood, Sean Penn and Leo. I'm a fan. Now, Teyana Taylor, I don't recall seeing her. She was Perfidia Beverly Hills. Pretty dynamic performance. She's a Grammy-nominated R&B singer.
Really?
I didn't know that. She first gained some mainstream attention when Kanye West signed her to Good Music at age 16. She was in the video for Fade. She also choreographed Michael Jackson in This Is It in concert preparation. Her acting has mostly consisted of supporting roles where she described it, she was cast as, quote, the hot girl or, quote, the dancing girl. That changed with the movie 1001, which I don't remember. In 2023, she played a woman who gets out of prison and kidnaps her own son from foster care in 1990s Harlem. Won the Grand Jury Prize at Sundance and earned her a Critics' Choice Breakthrough Performance Award. At the Golden Globe, she said, I am done with hot girl roles. I don't want to get stuck in a box. I didn't allow it while I was a singer. I'm not going to allow it now. She said, for prepping for this role, it took a lot of conversations between me and Paul to build her layers and create her color, this color palette. What is her color when she's upset? What is her color when she's seductive? What is her color when she's a baby mama? On the set, she said, I wasn't prepared for the running. It really whooped me, but it put something in me. I had a point to prove. You can remember she was like running a lot, practicing. And then of course she needed it, but it didn't work. She still got caught by the police. I had a point to prove. I made a promise to Paul, you ride with me, I'm riding with you. And then she said on her co-stars, imagine having these legends for teachers. You think I'm about to fall asleep in class? She won the Golden Globe for Best Supporting Actress and is nominated for an Oscar. Okay, Regina Hall was Lady Champagne, small but pretty significant part. She's the one who rescues Willa away as long as she could. She was in the Scary Movie franchise as Brenda, 4 films in that. Girls Trip with Queen Latifah and Tiffany Haddish. Support the Girls also. Earned a New York Film Critics Circle Award for Best Actress. Anderson considered her for this project long before the other cast was set. She was one of the first names announced. Recall seeing one scene in the script described simply as chaos TBD and being delighted rather than alarmed. Come on, you guys don't think that's funny? They wrote in the script chaos to be determined. All right, Chase Infinity as Willa. This was her film debut, The Daughter, right? Pretty cool.
She's nominated too.
Yep, she was born in 2000 in Indianapolis. Her real name is Chase Infinity Payne. Her parents named her after Nicole Kidman's character Chase Meridian in Batman Forever, and after Bud Lightyear's catchphrase to infinity and beyond in Toy Story.
Say smoking.
Her parents took her and her sister to theater productions regularly, fostering her love of performing. She started auditioning for school musicals at age 10. She went to Columbia College, Chicago, musical theater major, class of 2022. A pandemic-era on-camera acting class sparked her interest in film. A professor told her to consider film acting, and she thought he was joking. She had been a kickboxing instructor and a member of a K-pop cover band dance crew called Duple Dance Crew. She was in Presumed Innocent in 2024. It was her first ever on-camera role, playing Jake Gyllenhaal's and Ruth Nega's teenage daughter. She submitted a self-tape for One Battle After Another while shooting Presumed Innocent, not knowing what the project was. Anderson put her through chemistry reads, they called it, with Leonardo DiCaprio and Regina Hall, and karate classes while he observed. At one point for the audition, he handed her a razor blade and asked her to shave Leonardo DiCaprio's face on camera. She didn't flinch. The casting director said, I was like, this girl's going to be absolutely fine.
How about DiCaprio? Did he?
How she got the part. Anderson pulled her aside one evening at the end of a callback and casually said, so if you didn't know, you got the part. And she said, my brain could not compute how massive this project was. She used her own experience growing up biracial, black father, white mother in Indianapolis to inform her sense of identity. She said, I remember what it was like being 16 and not feeling I fully fitted in. I used that to fuel Willa's understanding of who she is. IndieWire praised her magnetically self-possessed performance, calling her an instant movie star and saying her work inspires a strange kind of secondhand pride. Paul Thomas Anderson said, gotta make sure the talent, intelligence, humor, and work ethic is real and not imagined. 6 months is not long in trying to get to know someone. That was his audition process for her. The long runway, so that by the time you start shooting, you have a common goal and an ease with each other. She was officially named to Variety's 10 Actors to Watch and BAFTA's Breakthrough US cohort. She's been cast in The Testaments, which will be Hulu's sequel to The Handmaid's Tale. And she's filming a movie in London also. Okay, anyone have any comments they want to make at this point?
There's a question about what you said about a 6-month audition class.
Yes,
It sounds extraordinary.
yes, I would think so too. Paul Thomas Anderson thought it was good to get to know her better because he didn't have much to go on for her body of work. So he felt it was important to have a long-term process with her to see.
And then when you're on schedule to develop a movie and then you've gone 4 months and you decide she's not the right one, then.
Well, if you have a 6-month audition before you start filming, I think you know by then. That's the good news.
Oh, that's true.
You don't have to reshoot.
How do you do a 6-month audition?
Well, they had constant callbacks.
Oh.
Yeah.
Must have really crazy.
Yeah, right. The suspense must be killing the actions, right?
Give me the damn part or don't.
Yeah.
Was he looking at other people at the time?
Yeah,
I thought she was very good in that role.
yeah, she was
Especially,
terrific.
like at the beginning, she seemed like a regular teenager. And then her character, I guess, blossomed into.
Yeah, you saw the rebellious nature of not just a regular teenager, but her being who she was with her parents.
Right.
So, okay, let's see, I'm just looking at my notes. Oh, interesting how, Perfidia leaves and says, I put myself first. And she basically said, you know that. So she leaves Sean Penn to fend for himself with the daughter. Yeah, no, sorry, thank you. Leonardo DiCaprio to fend for himself with the daughter.
She was like an infant.
Yeah, she was baby. Yeah, maybe months, yep. Okay. If you remember, they were mentioning some locations like Backton Cross, totally fictional. They did talk about Denver, but then, then go to Backton Cross, but yeah, it's fictional. Okay, oh, so Perfidia went to witness protection. She named names. Lockjaw kills several of her co-conspirators and captured some others. Oh, and then Lockjaw gets the Bedford Forest Medal of Honor. Fictional, totally fictional. He tries to visit Perfidia, but she fled to Mexico. Forward 16 years later, Will is taking martial arts with Benicio del Toro, and the song Dirty Work by Steely Dan comes on. Bob was telling everyone Perfidia died while she was young, when he was going to the parent-teacher meeting. And he showed his pride. And then, okay, I want to get to one. Now, the Christmas Adventurers Club. Okay, what did you guys think of that?
Was it Christmas or Christian?
It was Christmas. Yeah, but obviously, yeah. Any thoughts on that?
This is what we live with here in America.
Right.
The secret cabal who's cleaning house wants the white America to no stains.
It's a white nationalist group, right?
And Sean Penn was stained.
Sean Penn was saying, that's why he couldn't join the club, right?
This is all, they were all recognizable faces.
Yeah,
And then I don't know who they were, but
yeah, Virgil and the other.
one was the younger guy who,
Yeah.
Jane
It's like-
Vance's brother.
but there was one, he was in the, oh God, sorry, I can't, with this terrible mind. He was in that series about the
Scandal.
German.
Scandal?
No, he was the German officer.
Glorious Bastards?
What was that?
Glorious Bastards?
I think you're saying a TV series.
TV series.
That was
yeah.
a film, yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, doesn't matter. But there were some recognizable.
Yeah, there were
faces.
some recognizable faces.
Yeah, he's in Lauren,
Tony
I
Goldwyn.
don't remember.
Tony Goldwyn.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, very good, yeah.
Scandal.
Scandal?
With Gary Washington.
Law and Order. Well, everybody's been in Law and Order.
as the district attorney.
Okay, so anyway, the Christmas Adventurers want to stop immigration and no more lunatics, they said. And the Christmas Adventurers Club is supposedly, according to them, made up of superior beings dedicated to a safer and pure world. And they don't want anyone intervening in their bloodline. They're born of American Gentiles. They called it double Yankee white. And it's something incompletum, and I don't know what they were talking about there. And then you see Billy Goat gets captured, the guy on the radio gets captured by Danvers for Lockjaw. Danvers was an interesting character, right? Seems very friendly, but he's totally ruthless and vicious. The guy who worked for Lockjaw and interrogated the kids looking for the daughter. That actor was very good. I wish I remembered his name. Okay, and then Billy Goat wasn't going to talk, but then they blackmail him with the threat to kill his sister, and he gives up where Bob is. So they go to kill Bob and capture Willa. There's a raid at the dance where Willa is. Bob gets notified of it while watching. What was he watching on TV? Come on. What movie was he watching on TV? Battle of Algiers, right? Which we discussed here a few years ago.
I remember seeing that.
Classic revolutionary movie, right? So that was kind of symbolic. I thought that was pretty cool. And the scene in the background is they're dragging someone off down the steps while he's on the phone trying to remember the password or something. Okay. Of course, Bob doesn't remember the greeting code. All right. And then the MKU. Do you remember what the MKU stood for? I had it down here. I hope I find it. Something, a Mankind United. That's what the name for the troopers of Lockjaw's unit was. Mankind United, MKU. Okay. Oh, okay. Now, and then when you see the rally where the Lockjaw's men intervene, you remember what they did to cause the rally to be intervened? Anyone remember? Remember the line, "Send in Eddie Van Halen"?
Firebomb.
They had one guy pretend to be one of the ralliers, throw a Molotov cocktail. Not at anybody, he just threw it to get, literally to start a fire. And that was the excuse Lockjaw's guys used to attack.
Yeah.
I want to make sure you remember that, because that's kind of important. He set up the rally there, which actually is based on a true incident. If you remember back to when Hillary Clinton was campaigning against Trump the first time, Hillary's people did something like that. Yes, they were caught on camera because they were denying it until someone showed them the video, and then they had to resign and did some jail time. But that is true. That's based on a true story. Okay. And then Willa was taken to you remember the name of the convent? Funny name.
Sisters of Mercy.
Close.
Yeah.
Sisters of the Brave Beaver,
Yeah.
which kind of is reminiscent of the other scene where the one criminal robbing a bank stands up and says her name is Jungle Pussy. Okay, and she didn't wear a mask, so great if you want to get caught. Okay, all right. Now, interestingly enough, this was kind of interesting. You remember the character of Red, the Native American?
Yes.
Good.
Okay.
He was great.
He was great, right? He saves Willa. Of course, it cost him his own life. And it's really funny because the first time I saw that, I remember that being a very violent scene. And then when I watched it again, like 95% of the violence is off screen. You hear it and you see Willa in the car trying to, work something. And then she comes back and everybody's dead.
Yeah.
It was almost all off screen. I thought that was pretty interesting the way that was done.
She was pretty brave in there. She was really.
She was brave.
Stand up.
Yeah. Now, the other thing, which was kind of interesting and a little paradox. So Red, again, the Native American, if you remember, Virgil said earlier, he couldn't be trusted because he was not white. And then what happens? He couldn't be trusted by them, which was interesting. Okay, then they have the chase scene in the hills and Tim gets killed by Willa. But Tim has shot Lockjaw, and Lockjaw, of course, doesn't die, even though he looks dead. He ends up walking back looking like a zombie.
But don't forget the DNA scene. I mean, the DNA scene.
The DNA testing scene.
So great.
Yeah, gripping, right? And then, he's looking at her, she's looking, and the jokes she made with him about, what's the deal with the tight shirt? Like, I'm not gay. You think I'm gay? Right? And she goes, I see your lips. He was, lifts on his shoes. And then she got really upset. He got really upset, but it was pretty funny. I had another note here. Oh, okay. All right. So when we get to the scene where the members of this group call in Sean Penn to meet, do you remember what was actually happening at that moment while they were having the meeting? The first meeting. There was the wedding,
Oh, yeah.
right?
Oh, yes, it's,
The daughter's wedding.
The daughter's wedding, right? So I'm thinking, is this like a little nod to The Godfather, right? Because that's when Marlon Brando had that very big meeting while his kid's getting married. He's still doing business, mafia business. And I think there's a little equivalency here where the director's saying this white nationalist group is acting like the mafia. So that was my take. I didn't read that anywhere. I just kind of looked at it and go, all this business dealing with the dirty dealings happening while his kid's getting married reminded me of The
You
Godfather.
should run that through ChatGPT.
I didn't. I just wanted my own take on that. And then the interesting thing at the end, and here's another, again, my take only. So when Sean Penn comes back at the end, he's got the, thing with his lip, he's all beat up. And he thinks he's now a made man, if we're going with the mafia analogy.
Oh, I love the.
And they say, oh, yeah, okay, they ask him a couple questions, which he, totally denies. And then they escort him to this corner office, right? And what happened? They got, do you remember what the number of the office door was? Okay, suite 55, which if you look at the numbers, 55 looks kind of like SS. Okay, it's just my take again, just what I thought I saw. I thought they put that in there for a reason.
I thought when he got told that he's,
Yeah.
that he made it, what is the first thing he says? Mommy.
Yeah.
Which I was interesting. It's something about his character.
Yeah, well, he's got a lot of hangups. So that was the only way they could kill him. I guess they felt was the safer way to do it, since he escaped death earlier.
Then the incinerator.
Yeah, then of course they incinerated him. All right, so Perfidia writes a letter to her daughter. She says the revolution has failed, which I thought was kind of interesting too. At the end, though, Willa leaves for a rally to go to Oakland, and the song Tom Petty's "American Girl," she was an American girl, comes on, and that's where the movie ends.
Ed,
Yes.
I thought they might be setting us up for a sequel by that end.
I suppose that's possible, but given the budget and that it wasn't a big enough success, I mean, maybe when it wins the award, it'll come back in the theaters, it'll, make back the money, but I don't know. I suppose it's possible. They could do Willa's story, possible. All right, so anyone have any comments here? I have some discussion questions, a couple critics' comments, trivia. Yes.
I have one. In the car scenes, there were many chases where the car door was closed.
Yeah.
And there are others where it was left open when people were driving. I couldn't figure out the rationale for it. Was there one?
Yeah, I think just the chaos of the scene, but I couldn't think of anything deeper than that. But I do know what you mean. They were interesting where car doors are left open and then they're not. Yeah, there may be something to it, but I missed it. Yep, that's possible, but good observation. Okay, RogerEbert.com. A timeless story of resistance, remarkably propulsive, fun, and eventually moving. It hums and moves in ways that movies too rarely do. NPR called it prescient, mesmerizing, frequently hilarious, and fiercely political. A big-hearted pessimist's gonzo vision of a nation at war with itself. Jacob Talks Film gave it 5 stars. Anderson has perhaps made his most instantly, generationally potent film. He's made the most exciting, propulsive, fast-paced, accessible, and crowd-pleasing film of his career, and yet sacrifices none of his cinematic genius. Now, a mixed comment, London Evening Standard. Curb your expectations. The rumors that he's made one of the best films of the 21st century are ever so slightly exaggerated. Another one called it, wants to be epic, but ends up didactic. Simplistic moral universe, feels less like cinema, more like ideological instruction. Variety's Owen Gleiberman, he admired it, but he said, Anderson knows the quality that liberates DiCaprio as comedy. And that was described as faint praise masking a bigger reservation about the film's dramatic weight. So do you think DiCaprio in a bathrobe added dramatic depth or comedy? Okay. I thought a little of both, but mostly comedy. Yeah.
Well, he was a stoner. He was just playing that role.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah, which is ironic because that's how Sean Penn got started, playing a stoner.
And that was my whole point, it's like, you're running and stuff, of course you're gonna strip off this stupid bathrobe. It's blocking you and everything you're doing, so it was so easy to say, come on, there's no reality at that point.
no, but you're looking for reality. This is.
Oh, well,
It was-
I'm just, look at that.
The chase over the buildings with
Oh,
the
yeah.
skateboarder, and he's trying to keep up, and of course he can't, falls, and then gets up somehow and gets tased.
Right.
That was funny.
I saw it as a,
Slapstick.
no, I saw it as making him a big mess and then making him a hero. A big mess becoming a hero is, saving his daughter.
Okay. I kind of didn't look at him as a hero, but I guess he is at the end. That's true. He did come back to save her and he did. Yep.
He
True.
left everything
Yes,
that
that's
and
true.
took her away. I mean, he was a hero even then.
Right.
He left everything behind and ran with her when she was an infant.
Yeah.
Everything, what did he?
Yeah, no, yeah. That's true. He really didn't have anything.
He left with nothing.
This belt, flying everywhere.
But he admitted, he said, I'm an alcoholic drug addict,
Yes.
but that's who I am.
Yes.
You know, that's-
Yeah, he said, I've done way too much of that and it's not good, so I can't remember anything. Yeah.
The funny things about the bathrobe is that he didn't seem like the type of person who'd be a bathrobe wearer. It was really incongruous, and I thought it was funny for that reason.
Okay, well, just around the house supposedly, but when he had to escape, that's all.
But there's another nuance in this. He exemplifies the failure of that movement, of
Yes.
that 60s, 70s movement.
Yes.
You look at it and said, it was screwed.
Yeah.
And, the whole thing fell apart. So,
Right.
and the right wing really took over, as we're seeing. It's just in control now. They can
Yeah.
put you into a casket and burn you.
We thought it was very, on the political side, really prophetic. We thought this was Minneapolis. This guy predicted Minneapolis was gonna happen because there's a lot of parallels in the movie and what
Right.
happened here recently.
Right, absolutely, the parallels to Minneapolis. Yes, Dr. Dean.
We all lived through the sixties, seventies and eighties with Black Panther movement and all that. I actually provided medical care to a Black Panther clinic back then. They emphasized detention centers, which is today. Were there detention centers back in the sixties and the seventies?
I don't know,
remember.
but it would not surprise me if they were.
Well,
I don't know.
not like today.
Well, there
Well-
always has
Well, there
been.
were times.
There was
when
a
we-
famous one in Long Island City in New York.
Yes.
Long Island City had one?
The Metropolitan Corrections Center, I believe it was.
Um,
And it was
okay.
really
I didn't know
horrible.
about that.
Horrible conditions.
Yeah.
They were in that room, the people that knew about it.
Okay. So anyway, the best political films, which there's a note from AI, Dr. Strangelove, Network, All the President's Men, which was based on fact though, don't preach, they dramatize. The test is whether the characters are people first or arguments in human costume. Anderson threads this needle more than his critics acknowledge. Even the villain Lockjaw is given a horrifying psychosexual motivation, not just a MAGA bumper sticker. The film's white supremacist cabal is called the Christmas Adventurers Club, a name so absurdly mundane it becomes chillingly realistic rather than cartoonish. Anderson's insight is that real-world fascism often is absurd and banal, as Hannah Arendt would tell you. The question isn't whether the politics are clear, they are, but whether the characters earn them. Okay. The father-daughter story was at the heart of it. I think we already kind of covered that. And then we talked about the film style, Sean Penn's Walk. Okay. So, all right, the greatest film villains are never simply evil. This is AI. They're comprehensible. We understand why they do what they do, even if we're horrified by it. Anderson makes explicit that Lockjaw's racism and violence are rooted in psychosexual inadequacy. He's drawn to Perfidia even as he hunts her. Penn reportedly drew from real-world military figures and studied fascist body language, not the theatrical Hitler-style fascism, but the quiet, bureaucratic authoritarian who genuinely believes he's defending civilization. That banality makes him more frightening than a traditional screaming villain. The Walk is genius. Penn knew that a man who commands rooms doesn't need to hurry. All right, and I've got some trivia notes.
The name Lockjaw is also interesting.
Yeah,
It's tetanus, that's both
Yeah.
guys.
yeah,
Also tetanus.
yeah, like Dr. Strangelove. Warner Brothers executives were reportedly nervous about this film, with one source describing it in the press as calling it an eccentric and bizarre movie.
Yes.
Anderson rewrote, okay. Ridley Scott, the director who did Alien and Aliens and several other terrific films. Anderson rewrote portions of his Napoleon, Ridley Scott's Napoleon, which was requested by Joaquin Phoenix. Phoenix had worked with him and apparently trusted him enough to bring him in as an uncredited script doctor. Okay, the film score I talked about includes Johnny Greenwood's reworking of the Wicked Witch theme from The Wizard of Oz. It says there's also a needle drop of the song Mo Bamba by Sheck West that critics called one of the funniest out of nowhere musical moments in recent cinema. Okay. Anderson drew partially from real world community activists in the Humboldt County area. He consulted local groups, including the Sisters of the Valley, which is a real life female activist collective on which the Sisters of the Brave Beaver was based. Yeah, and it was originally shot under the working title BC Project, keeping the true cast and content a secret while filming across Humboldt County, California. Anderson and his crew even attended prom at Eureka High School to observe fashion and music trends, and students were cast as extras in that key scene. That's what I got. And that's pretty much it. So that's it.
A question.
Yes.
Is Leonardo DiCaprio nominated for an Academy Award for this coming up for this?
Yes,
Yeah.
he was nominated. Yep.
So it's for this year.
Yeah, he's one of the 13 nominations for the movie.
And what do you think? Who knows?
You know, the BAFTA, he was nominated for a BAFTA, and this guy who is in a movie that hasn't even been released in the United States won over all these people who are better known. I don't know. Again, it took me two viewings to really appreciate his performance in this. Is it Best Picture? To me, Sean Penn is the performance of the movie.
Right.
Whether Bart likes it or not.
What about the Globes? What happened on the Globes?
Sean Penn won. I can't remember who won Best Actor.
Timothy
Marty
Chalamet.
Timothy Chalamet.
He was fantastic.
Yeah, he was. I didn't completely love the movie, but it was well done, but I didn't completely love it.
a lot better than this one.
You like that better?
Much better.
Wow, okay, all right. All right,
I had asked Ed
yes.
something before about, so maybe it's a ridiculously simple question, but what's with all the dystopian movies? That seems to be all we're seeing now. Sinners.
Yeah.
Yes.
I know, but I mean, isn't,
Well, Sinners is more racial.
but it's still dystopian, but
Sure, absolutely.
they're all, and then, but in the,
Did you see Weapons?
no.
Oh.
But those movies are escapism,
Weapons.
right? And there was always comedies that were set up when things were really bad.
Okay, well, Network.
Well, that was pretty serious.
Yeah.
But it was a
Well, that's true.
satire.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Satire.
I'm mad as hell, I'm not gonna take it anymore. Come on, yeah.
Okay, so I guess that's what we can expect.
That's the world we live in. Wuthering Heights, even Wuthering
Yeah.
Heights, they're taking it to a new level of.
Right.
Oh, really?
Right, yes. You're Wuthering Heights, yeah.
Looked like that.
You gotta see Wuthering Heights, that's the one.
Yeah, it's a polarizing time,
Right.
so films are gonna reflect attitudes about that. It's not surprising. I mean, it's.
So we should just watch old films and forget these new ones.
A lot of the old films, I was just mentioning Network.
Come to this class, you can watch,
DHS movie.
Sentimental Values, is that the name of the movie?
I didn't see that yet. Did you see that? Very good. Sentimental Values, okay.
Well, it's not a happy movie,
Right.
okay, but I thought the camera work was wonderful. And it's, you know, it's like a foreign movie.
Yeah.
Where they go, closure,
Yeah.
blackout,
Right, right.
blackout. But I enjoy,
but
Okay, no, it's got very good reviews.
They got a lot of
He's dominated.
nominations for acting in that one as well.
Yeah.
he's dominated, what's his name? It's a Swedish name. Garrisville. there's some-
Oh,
Skarsgård, yeah. All right. Well, thank you for coming. I'm not sure. I gotta get back to you on the next time, because